وَتَعَاوَنُوا, and you all mutually cooperate. Ta'awanu is from the root letters Ain, Waw, Noon, from the word ta'awun. And ta'awun is to do aun of one another. What does aun mean? Help. إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. We seek aun. So what is aun? Help. And remember that aun is used for any type of help. So ta'awanu, meaning cooperate with one another, help one another, عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى, upon good deeds, bir, righteousness, and taqwa, fearing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When bir and taqwa come together, bir refers to different types of good deeds. And taqwa refers to staying away from haram, staying away from that which is forbidden. So cooperate with one another to do that which is right and to avoid the haram. وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا, and do not cooperate with one another, عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ, upon sin and transgression. What is udwan? Transgression against other people. And ism could be a sin that a person is committing against himself or in the rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ, and fear Allah. إِنَّ اللَّهَ شَدِيدُ الْعِقَابِ, indeed Allah is most severe in retribution. Meaning for those people who oppose Him and go against His commands, Allah is severe in taking retribution. The word iqab is from the root letters Ain, Qaf, Ba. And aqib is heal. And iqab is punishment that is given as a recompense for committing an offense or a crime. Because it follows the action. It follows the crime. It follows the offense. So if you do something wrong, if you disrespect, if you disobey the commands of Allah, then remember that Allah is severe in retribution. What do we learn from this ayah? Many things. First of all, we learn that at Hajj, a person has to be careful about the place that he is in. And he must not violate the sanctity of the place, of the people, of the time, of the rituals. So when a person is going for Hajj, he must be very careful. He must be very respectful towards not just the haram, but also towards the people who are there. وَلَا أَمِينَ الْبَيْتَ الْحَرَامِ. Because many times what happens when we go for Hajj, we just want to focus on ourselves. That I respect the Kaaba so much that I will push 100 people to get there and touch it. Even if somebody falls, or somebody gets hurt, or they get lost, because I respect the Kaaba so much. I have to pray in the haram, even if it means I have to fight with someone to get their spot. This is what? Disrespecting not just the place, but even the people. So when a person is going for Hajj, he has to be extremely careful and respectful towards the place, towards the rituals, towards the people, towards the time, and he must not violate their sanctity in any way. He cannot take the rules in his hand and change them as he pleases. Rather, he must show respect. We have learned earlier in Surah Al-Baqarah, فَلَا رَفَثَ وَلَا فُسُوقَ وَلَا جِدَالَ فِي الْحَجِّ. There should be no sexual intimacy between spouses at Hajj. وَلَا فُسُوقَ, there should be no sinning. And وَلَا جِدَالَ, there should be no arguing either when a person is at Hajj. In Surah Al-Hajj, ayah number 32, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَن يُعَظِّمْ شَعَائِرَ اللَّهِ فَإِنَّهَا مِن تَقْوَى الْقُلُوبِ. And whoever honors the sha'air of Allah, then indeed that is from the piety of the hearts. Whoever honors, yu'allim, the sha'air of Allah. And sha'air of Allah includes the places, the times, the rituals. And from this ayah we also learn it's the people who are performing Hajj. Even they must be shown respect to. So we see from this ayah that our deen, it teaches us respect. That worship is not just going there, performing some rituals and coming back, but it is to perform Hajj consciously, carefully. That in that process a person does not harm other people. And notice it has been said that وَلَا يَجْرِمَنَّكُمْ شَنَآنُ قَوْمٍ, that sometimes we're just biased towards some people, towards some races, towards some cultures. And when we see them over there, we're like, who are they? They're your Muslim brothers and sisters. You're supposed to respect them as well. Just because you had a disagreement with them doesn't mean you can treat them however you want. Secondly, we also learn from this ayah that those people who are going for Hajj, they should be cooperated with. And a person should not put them to difficulty in any way whatsoever. A person should try as much as he can to facilitate their Hajj, to facilitate their Umrah. And it's amazing how throughout our history, may Allah reward those people who have cooperated with those people who are coming for Hajj. They have facilitated for them in so many different ways, that the roads have been paved, the car rides have been arranged. Now, alhamdulillah, the trains are running, water is arranged, food. So much is there. Why? In order to cooperate with those people who are coming for Hajj and Umrah. So, this is something that is an obligation. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says over here that do not violate the sanctity of those people who are coming to perform Hajj. Cooperate with them, help them, assist them. Do not harm them in any way. And we also have to be careful that sometimes what happens is that because it's the Hajj season or it's the peak Umrah season, what happens is that people, they increase the prices of food, of basic things, basic necessities. And a person who cannot afford much, it becomes very difficult for him to arrange for his food and for his accommodation and also for his travel. So, people who are going for Hajj and Umrah, they must be cooperated with. We also learn from this ayah about the obligation of husnul zan concerning the Hujjaj. That they are going to seek the fadl of Allah and Ridwan. Because Allah says over here, يَبْتَغُونَ فَضْلًا مِنْ رَبِّهِمْ وَرِضْوَانًا. So a person who is going for Hajj, you should have a good thought about them, that they're really going to gain benefit of deen and dunya and the pleasure of their Lord. We are no one to say, oh, this person, he's going for Hajj only to please his mom. Or he's going for Hajj only to perform the ritual and his heart is not here, so I don't care about him. I'm only concerned about my Hajj. No. Any person who's going for Hajj, we should have a good supposition about them, that يَبْتَغُونَ فَضْلًا مِنْ رَبِّهِمْ وَرِضْوَانًا. We also learn from this ayah about the obligation of adl with the enemy. The obligation of justice even with the enemy. That just because you have hatred for them or they have hatred for you, you don't commit a crime. You don't disobey Allah in any way. We also learn from this ayah about the obligation of cooperating with others in al-birri wat-taqwa. The obligation of cooperating with others in good, in righteousness, in something that is good, and in also saving people from that which is harmful. And this is something that can be taken in a general sense. That even if a non-Muslim is doing something that is good, that is righteous, that has an element of taqwa in it, because taqwa is to protect, to take a shield. So if even a non-Muslim is trying to do something in order to help people, in order to save them from that which is harmful, it is our obligation to cooperate with them. So for example, if there are some people who have developed this organization in which they're researching about cancer or about a disease, and they want your support, they want your help with regards to making people aware, or with regard to teaching people, with regards to funding so that they can increase in their research, then we must cooperate with them. Sometimes we don't cooperate with them saying that they're non-Muslim. For example, sometimes these organizations, they will take donations. For example, your used clothing. And they will sell them, and the money that they gain, they will use it for their research. And what do we say? Don't give your used clothing even to them because they're non-Muslims. No, Allah says, وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى. Cooperate with one another in bir and taqwa. So if they're doing something good, cooperate with them, whether they're Muslim or not. And we see that at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, when he migrated to Medina, a drought hit Mecca. And Abu Sufyan, he sent a message to Medina, and the Prophet ﷺ sent food items for them. Why? Because this is ta'awanu ala al-bir. This is righteousness, feeding the hungry. وَالتَّقْوَى, saving lives. Similarly, we learned that before prophethood, the Prophet ﷺ, he was present at the covenant that was agreed upon between the 5 tribes of the Quraysh. And this covenant was known as the Hilf al-Fudul. Hilf al-Fudul. And what was that? That the poor people or the travelers who come to Makkah, they should be treated nicely. And the Prophet ﷺ, he used to regard this covenant as very honorable. I mean, he really respected it. And it is said that much after the Prophet ﷺ became a prophet, he would say that I was present when a covenant was agreed upon in the house of Abdullah ibn Jad'an, and I would not accept even a red camel in exchange of it. Meaning, even if you were to offer me something very expensive, I would not take it because I still prefer to be a part of that. Had I been asked to uphold it even in the days of Islam, I would have agreed. Why? Because it's ta'awun ala al-birri wat-taqwa. So if anyone is doing something that is righteous, is saving people, there is the element of taqwa in it, then you should cooperate with them. It's an obligation. Ta'awanu, it's an amr, it's a command. We also learn from this ayah about the encouragement to do bir and have taqwa. Because how can you cooperate with someone if you don't do it yourself? You have to do it yourself. Because sometimes you say, I will only help other people. No, you're supposed to do it yourself as well. We also learn from this ayah about the prohibition of cooperating in sin. If somebody is doing something that is sinful, ism, sinful, it's a sin against Allah, or it is udwan, transgression against people, then we are not allowed to cooperate with them. So for instance, if a friend of yours is deciding to steal someone's book, steal someone's wallet, steal someone's bag, and they tell you about it, even afterwards, are you going to cooperate with them and hide their theft? No, you cannot cooperate with them. Similarly, if someone is hurting another, if someone is yelling at another, shouting at another, are you going to just remain silent and cooperate with the person who is oppressing the other? No, you cannot cooperate with them. You must stand up and stop them. كُونُوا قَوَّامِينَ بِالْقِسْطِ. Similarly, if someone is cheating another, if a person is sitting in the test, and their friend asks them, can you tell me the answer to this question? Can you show me the root word of this word? You say, she's my best friend. She helps me so much. So I have to show her. So you lift up your test paper and you let her have a glance at your test paper. This is ta'awun ala al-ismi wal-udwan. What does Allah say? وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ. Do not cooperate in sin and transgression. The Prophet ﷺ said, أُنصُرْ أَخَاكَ ظَالِمًا أَوْ مَظْلُومًا. Support your brother, help your brother, whether he is unjust or the victim of injustice. Whether he is unjust or the victim of injustice. So the Sahaba asked, O Messenger of Allah, we know about helping him when he suffers injustice, but how can we help him when he is the one who is being unjust to the other? How are we supposed to help him? The Prophet ﷺ said, prevent and stop him from committing injustice. If you really like your friend, if you're really concerned about their success, about their diploma, if you're really concerned about the fact that they should pass their tests, if you're really concerned about the fact that they should be happy, then you should be concerned for their akhirah and not cooperate with them in the wrong that they're doing. وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ. So the Prophet ﷺ said, prevent and stop him from committing injustice, and this represents giving support to him. We also learn from this ayah about the obligation of taqwa, and if one goes against the commands that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given, then he is going against taqwa. Because Allah says, وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ, fear Allah, إِنَّ اللَّهَ شَدِيدُ الْعِقَابِ. That fear Allah, and out of His fear, follow the commands that are given in this ayah. If you go against them, that's not part of taqwa. So don't assume that you're a muttaqi when you go against these commands, when you're helping someone in sin, in doing something that is wrong. That's not taqwa. It's not taqwa at all. Because taqwa is a fear of Allah that takes a person away from disobeying Him. It's not just the fear of the teacher, the fear of the invigilator, the group in charge, or the person who is above you in some way or the other. No, it's the fear of Allah, that Allah is watching. Even if so-and-so is not watching. So wattaqullaha, this shows us about the obligation of taqwa. Recitation of these two ayah.